The night air in Liverpool used to carry a kind of tension that you could feel as much as here. Gunshots in the distance weren't unusual. The sight of masked figures standing at street corners guarding their patch became an ordinary backdrop. Parents warned their children which streets to avoid, which names not to say out loud, and which doors never to knock on. For entire neighborhoods, life unfolded under the shadow of gangs, and silence wasn't just common, it was survival. But something has been shifting in this city. In recent years, Liverpool has become the epicenter of one of Britain's most ambitious anti-gang operations. A crackdown that has already seen thousands arrested, millions seized, and communities beginning to reclaim streets once written off as lost. The story isn't just about police storming houses or hauling away drugs. It's about a long fight to change how people live, who controls their neighborhoods, and what future the next generation will inherit. The scale of the campaign is staggering. Over 5,000 arrests, hundreds of kilograms of cocaine, heroin, and cannabis taken off the market. Machetes, firearms, and improvised weapons seized before they could spill more blood. Millions in cash and assets stripped from the very networks that once used them to expand their grip. It is policing on a scale rarely sustained for this long, and the city is starting to feel the tremors. For the first time in years, residents whisper that maybe, just maybe, the gangs don't hold all the power anymore. For decades, those same gangs were seen as untouchable. They ran sprawling county lines operations, exporting drugs from Liverpool to small towns in rural areas across the country. Children barely in their teens were groomed to carry heroin and crack cocaine on trains and buses, lured by promises of easy money. Some never escaped. Others ended up serving long sentences before adulthood. Violence was the currency of control, and fear was the tool that kept people quiet. To many, the idea that the cycle could ever be broken seemed impossible. That's what makes this crackdown so different. It's not a flash-in-the-pan raid or a short-lived task force. It's a relentless, long-term campaign that blends enforcement with something much harder: trust building. Officers aren't just battering down doors. They're attending neighborhood meetings, joining community events, and working side by side with youth workers and charities. They're not just arresting, they're trying to prevent. Because everyone knows that if vulnerable teenagers aren't protected, the conveyor belt of recruitment will keep filling gang ranks no matter how many are locked up. What has surprised even the police themselves is the way residents have responded. For years, information from the public was scarce. Fear silenced potential witnesses, and distrust of the police kept many from speaking out. But now, phone calls are being made, anonymous tips are pouring in, and ordinary people are guiding investigators towards safe houses, stash points, and drug operations. One senior officer admitted that much of their success rests not on surveillance technology, but on the bravery of local residents who finally believe their voices matter. Yet the gangs are not surrendering quietly. Each major raid forces them to change tactics. Some shift their coordination online using encrypted apps to arrange shipments and payments. Others diversify into new crimes: fraud, counterfeiting, cyber scams. They move like liquid, reshaping themselves to fit any crack they can find in the system. Police know that if they ease the pressure even briefly, Liverpool could slide back into chaos. Still, for families who lived under the shadow of gang violence for years, the difference is undeniable. Streets once considered dangerous are now patrolled regularly. Youth centers are reopening, funded with money confiscated from criminals. Shops that once shut early for fear of intimidation now keep their doors open later. A sense of normal life, fragile but present, is creeping back in. But the scars of what came before remain raw. Parents who buried children lost to knife attacks still carry their grief every day. Teenagers who were once swallowed by the gang machine now sit in prison cells, their futures cut short. Families driven from their homes after threats may never return to their old neighborhoods. At a community forum, one mother described how older boys had targeted her 14-year-old son, promising him money to make short trips. She fought to keep him safe, but others around her weren't so lucky. Her words cut through the room. How many children do we have to bury before this stops? That question lingers in every corner of this story, because the operation is not just about arrests. It's about giving children a reason not to step onto that path in the first place. Community funds are being used to reopen sports fields, to restart mentorship programs, to keep youth clubs alive. A playground built with seized drug money sends a powerful message. What was stolen from the community is being given back. Crime doesn't pay, it pays back. This is what makes Liverpool's Crackdown more than just another police operation. It is an experiment in how modern policing can work when force is paired with compassion, when enforcement is balanced with prevention. It is the police officer storming a gang house one day, then standing in a community hall listening to residents the next. It is not an easy balance, but it is beginning to pay off. Of course, nobody believes the gangs are finished. Far from it. They are still out there, regrouping, planning, searching for weak points to exploit. The trade is too profitable, too entrenched, to vanish overnight. That's why police chiefs avoid calling this a victory. They talk instead about progress, hard-earned, fragile progress. The true test will not be measured in how many kilograms of cocaine are seized this year, but in whether the next generation of Liverpool's youth grows up believing they have choices beyond the gangs. The story unfolding here is, well, bigger than Liverpool. Across Britain, cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and London face similar struggles with organized crime. If this operation succeeds, it could serve as a blueprint for the rest of the country, a demonstration that even neighborhoods long dominated by gangs can be reclaimed with patience, persistence, and a careful blend of enforcement and trust. But if it fails, if the gangs adapt faster than the authorities can respond, then the question becomes whether any city can truly break free from their grip. You know, the people of Liverpool know better than most that this fight isn't about statistics, it's about survival. Every arrest represents not just a criminal taken off the street, but a chance, however small, for a safer tomorrow. Every reopened youth center offers a fork in the road for a teenager who might otherwise have been lost. And every family that dares to believe in hope again chips away at the fear gangs once thrived on. One officer put it best when he spoke to reporters. The gangs thought they owned these streets, but these streets belong to the people, and we're here to prove it. The battle is far from over. The gangs are still plotting, still recruiting, still trying to claw back what they once controlled. But for the first time in decades, Liverpool's neighborhoods are beginning to push back. For families who spent years trapped in silence, that shift feels like a revolution. And it may be the beginning of a new era in Britain's war on organized crime. If you want more in-depth, fact-checked stories from the front lines of Britain's battle with crime and the real people caught in the middle, make sure to stay with us. Because in this fight, the story is still being written, and the ending is anything but certain.